Hey everyone. So my story started off with, back when my parents immigrated to Canada. And that time I remember I was only 4 years old. So when I came from Taiwan to Canada, 4 years old, my parents did not know any English at all. So they had a pretty rough time establishing themselves over here. That is another story to share, right? But basically, we grew up in poverty, right? No work, we couldn't find any job because of the language barrier. Um, we came here at first with few other families actually, and bought farmland in Delta. And we basically, for the first few years, that's what we did. Rose garden, selling flowers to other flower shops, local stores, and everything like that. That is basically our income at first. And along the process, my parents learned a little bit of English. But you know, I remember back when I was in kindergarten, in grade one, grade two. Those were the fun times of my I guess my childhood, because I was a very ambitious person, right? At that time, I was actually very outgoing, and I'll play along with everybody, help along people that needed help, right? I was the Mr. Popular guy during that time. My teacher described me as, Hank the handsome and cute as a button guy. So it was quite a memorable experience. I only remember that part. The rest I actually forgot because I was only 6 or 7 years old, right? But you know it quickly went downhill when I was in grade three, and the reason why I went downhill was because, as you notice, my previous story was, I got bullied, right, by a person named Daniel. And he, in a way, I now looking back, I can tell that he lashed out at me is because of his jealousy, right? Back in grade two, and this is what my dad told me, is I was so popular along with, guys and girls that, after school, girls would chase me all the way back to my house just to play with me again. I find it quite interesting because I don't remember any part of that, but my dad does. And in a sense, Daniel, he kind of made me to cave in and lock my true potential within myself, because he struck fear in me, right? Um, Grade three until grade eight was when I got bullied. And it's not just like name calling, and it's not just name calling or shoving around. It is actually like threats, right? My homework, he will take it and tear it apart and then make me tell the teacher I forgot to do my homework. Now he will steal my pencils and he will snap them in half. He will stomp on my feet, and he will threaten me, saying that if I say anything, he's gonna let the whole entire class know that I am a telltale, right? He'll go like, "Oh, Hank, if you go tell the teacher, I'm gonna let the whole class know that you're a telltale. You don't want to be a telltale, do you?" Yeah, obviously, yeah. I'm like, no, no, no. I'll keep quiet, right? And this went on for a long time actually, because one bully picked on me, and then I guess everybody else followed suit because they thought that was a cool thing to do. And I didn't really share this with everybody, but when my parents came to Canada, we really did not have much to live on, right? We were renting at first. We bought a farmland that we have to pay off. It's just it was really hard to come by, to the point where the clothings I got was actually from donations. I grew up wearing oversized shirt, a little bit oversized shoes. My glasses was back when I was in Taiwan. It would be like those kind of really round glasses. I did not know how to dress up. I did not know how to dress up. I would basically wear jeans and tuck my shirt deep inside my pants. Basically, I looked like a complete geek, and they thought it would be funny because I was someone different than everybody else. But you know, with that aside, it really did make me feel like I'm not worthy. Because every time that I try to stand up for myself, every time that I try to, I guess in a way, outsmart them, they push me back down and say, Hank, you're not supposed to stand up. Hank, you're not supposed to do that. And I remember very clearly that, I used to be the guy that always asked questions. If something that I don't know, I'll raise up my hand and say, teacher, I don't understand this. Can you help me out? But because I was in an environment full of bullies, they make fun of me and say, Hank, you don't know this answer? Like, come on, man, this is a very easy question to answer. You should be resourceful enough, you should be smart enough to be able to answer all these questions. And so I really thought that I was stupid. I thought that when I asked this question, I would actually be like deemed like a stupid person, right? So over the years, with the constant struggle, with the constant fear of going to school, right? I basically created this huge, thick shell around me. And, as time progresses, the shell just got thicker and thicker and thicker to the point where when I reached high school, I don't have a single friend. Except the one weird guy. We never met, we never talked. It's just that we acknowledge each other and that's it. But I remember grade 8 was the loneliest time for me. It was actually painful. But it wasn't only grade 8, actually. It was like grade 5, grade 6, where I'll see people in the playground playing tags and everything like that, and I'll just be by myself in the playground, just sitting and using my imagination to think that I have a imaginary friend, right? Someone that actually cares about me. You know, I'll have a jacket. I'll tie the jacket around my neck and pretend that I'm a superhero, saving this princess. I have pretty wild imaginations, just because I was extremely lonely. Just thinking about that was quite painful. But once grade 8 ended, I got to the point where I'm like, enough is enough, right? No more bullying. Enough is enough. So I transferred schools. I transferred to another different high school where I actually made some true friends, right? They actually care about me. They look after me. And it was there and then I met my first girlfriend, in a way. It was puppy love, but it was kind of serious and not serious at the same time. We care for each other, and you know we share deep feelings with each other. But then I found out that it was actually a very toxic relationship, because I would hold on to her like a damn tick and not wanting to let go. Any guy that she approached, I will use my brain. I'll somehow use deception and saying, oh, that guy is a bad guy because of blah 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 blah, right? I don't want her to be taken away by anybody. It was a really really toxic relationship. I was that Mr. Creepy guy, and the time went on, and basically I wandered off a little bit. Despite me being that creepy guy, I basically wandered off and went back to my lonely self again. And you know, my friends at that time, they're like, Hank, it's okay, you'll find someone else. At the same time, just focus on myself, right? Really, really focus on myself. So I asked myself a question: what does it mean by focusing on myself? Like, in my head, I imagined to be this kind of guy that's really, really confident, outspoken, and be able to connect with everybody. That is my most inner self. But at the same time, I have this fear of expressing myself. I don't know how to explain it. It's just the fear. And I tried that during grade 9, and the results was pretty good. And that's where I found my first girlfriend. And she basically turned my life around in a pretty big way, because I started to more people, interacting with more people, especially with those that's close around me. And I realized that although we were both very deeply in love, um, we both have to separate. And she has to go back to China for school, and it was just a long distance relationship. Um, Long story short, that long distance relationship was a very painful experience, but I used my mind, I used my brains to think of creative ways to invest into the relationship. In a sense, I put pretty much everything into that relationship because she was the girl that I loved the most, my first serious relationship. But with that said, although she loved me dearly, I was very, very, very toxic to her because of how insecure I was. I wasn't confident. I was scared that she'll wander off to another guy. So basically, I was this insecure and needy guy that basically revolved around her. I was that Mr. Yes guy, right? Whatever she wanted, I'm like, yes, I'll try to give it to you. In the end, she ended up breaking off with me because she wasn't sure where the relationship is going. Her being in China, me being in Canada, there is no projection of when she'll return to Canada. And that left me devastated, right? I know at that time, I know for a fact that I was deeply in love with her, and at the same time she was deeply in love with me. But because of we can't see the future together, the vision wasn't there. It left me completely devastated. Like everything that I put in there, it basically tore me to shreds, 1,000 pieces, a million pieces. And I basically locked myself in my room for a month and a half. Every single day crying. I'll have puffy eyes. My eyes were red. I don't even want to see my parents. I just want to stay inside my room to to be that lonely self that I was always that uh, that I was always back in when I was in elementary school. My my parents would leave food just outside my door. I'll open it, take in the plate, finish it, and then put it back out, and let my parents clean it up. It was a really, really, really dark moment in my life. And during the time when I was in my room, I started doing research, right? I started to take my friend's advice of, how do I be that person that I always wanted to be that's inside my mind, right? I have that wild side. I have that bold, that confident guy inside of me. I started to research how to do that. And I came upon this book called The Game by Neil Strauss. I thought, you know, since I broke up already, and Strauss is like, the game is basically picking up girls, dating girls, and it basically revolved around exercises, how to approach people that you completely don't know, and strike up a conversation. And from there, then on, I stumbled upon another guy, dating coach guy called Christian Hudson, and he's like on how to be a confident person. I deep dive down into his videos and learned a lot. But for some reason, I found that there is something missing because with Christian Hudson, his ways of dating girls is pretty much like in bar. You do it inside the bar, and I don't go to the bars often, so it doesn't really apply to me. But then Christian Hudson, he introduced another dating coach called Jason Capital, right? And just the way how Jason presented himself, it got me hooked on. Now he called himself America's #1 dating coach. And that is where my journey really truly began because he was saying, okay, it's tricks and tactics is not going to work. I can say a whole bunch of lines to get a girl, but if my mindset is not right, then it's not going to work. So I thought that's pretty interesting. Long story short, I invested heavily into Jason Capital. I learned a lot from him, and I used a lot of his so-called his tactics or dating style, and to my surprise, it went really, really, really well, right? I was once again that Mr. Popular guy around girls. I know how to use, I know how to not use, I know how to use the presence of pretty girls to attract other pretty girls. It was kind of messed up, but after a while, I realized that deep down it's not me. I'm not that kind of guy that picks up women and manipulate them, right? I never truly manipulated them. I kind of just mess with the brain. Once I finish messing up with the brain, I just leave. Like I just cut completely, leave, and went on to the next girl, right? They were expecting that, okay, I'm interested in them, and basically is in the process of being in a relationship. The girls will be invested into me, and just when they thought that it's about time to get into a relationship, I'm like, okay, no, that's it, next to the next target, right? Mission accomplished. And as much as I hate to admit that that process of from 21 to 22, I that that basically got me to really wonder about the psychology, the mindset of you know self-development. I completely locked away that side of me and truly began to focus on the self-development, having that confident mindset. We're so called by Jason Capital, a high status guy. And I find it quite interesting how mindset plays a big huge role in whatever that we do. It's just that I'm still kind of stuck on how to find a solution to unlock that person that is truly truly inside me. For those that know me for a long time, knows about my true self, knows about my that inner Hank, right? That outgoing Hank, the confident Hank. Um, it's just that I find it quite hard to express myself um, when I don't know people from the start. But it was thanks to HTC that I completely forgot about. You can't say completely forget, but I know that I can use my past as an experience and use whatever I went throughout the journey to basically help me along to become the person that I want to become. And it's all about the mindset, right? And like Jenny was telling me, that I should express myself even more, right? If people don't like the way how I express myself, then so be it. So I should really stop judging myself and really focus on myself first instead of focusing on what others think. And it's like the same thing as starting this video, right? I start and I stop around the 5 minute mark and say, this is not good enough. I should have like a structured way of saying this, but instead I'm just gonna pour my heart out. Whatever comes to my heart, I'll just say it. But that's where I am today, right? In a nutshell, I went from being bullied to completely shut off person. I basically shut myself out from the rest of the world, and to become this extremely outgoing guy, and outgoing and confident guy that has a messed up brain, to where I am now, right? And I'm quite thankful for those bullies around me, because of them constantly saying, Hank, you're not good enough. Hank, you should be figuring things out for yourself. I shouldn't seek for help. I'm quite thankful for that. Is because right now, whenever people have questions, I know how to utilize my I guess resourcefulness to solve whatever the problems that they have. But at the same time, the flip side of that is I lose a little bit of the connection. So there is a fine line, and that is something that I'm working on, is expressing myself more, pouring more of my emotion out more, stop judging about what others think of me, and really just basically share whatever's on my mind. And if people don't like it, so be it. And that is where I am today. Without further ado, I'm not sure how well my story is, so tell me where I can improve on. And at the same time, the more that you get to know me, is the more you get to know about that inner self, myself. But I can't really let that happen, right? It's all about me. It's my responsibility to truly express myself out and share whatever is in my heart, because I believe I can be the person that I always wanted to be within me. And without further ado, I'll see you all in the next video.